Yeah, no, it's definitely a common affliction here at Pit Stop Ranch is making more work for yourself. Here at the Pit Stop Ranch, in past videos, I used to like to remind everyone that we are professionals, just not at this. And that is very applicable in this project, because whereas we have some experience doing almost every single step in this restoration, it was the first time taking it from, you know, abandoned project, mostly assembled, strip it all the way down, put it back together. Now, one of the areas that we are relatively new in is in actual fine body work. We've done a bunch of body work, kind of gross body work, even downright hackery. But then again, everyone goes through that phase when they're learning how to do this. You see someone do it, oh, I can do that, and you do it. And that is what you want to do. Oh, I can do that, and you do it. But then you have less than ideal results. Anyways, these two doors are at very different stages in this process, and it's an excellent time to kind of point out some of the things that we have learned along the way. All right, here are the two doors from Jimmy, driver's side, passenger side. Now, one of the issues that we had is one of us schmutzes it up, the other one sands it off, and then the other one looks at it and says, oh, you took too much off, and then smooches it again, and lather, rinse, repeat. And in this process, we have as a team figured out when you can start seeing through the filler, that is when you stop. And if it's not perfect, you need to put more filler over that. Everywhere you have a bare metal breakthrough on this is a spot that's nominally high, assuming, of course, you were able to sand it in a fairly even way. Now, both of these doors, because of the nature of the cab, have a very minor crown that way and a relatively major crown that way. They also, because the skin wraps around, they got a high spot along the edge and a high spot here, and because of the clamping force, a low spot here. And the other thing you have happen is you get the scratches. Well, this here was drug on the ground a little bit because of a windstorm, and so we got some deep gouges in it. So what we're going to be doing today is we want to go ahead and continue putting on the fine filler on this, the skim stuff, and then get it down to the point where these spots kind of bleed through, like here or here, but don't actually break through. And then if we know that, and it's even like that across, then we know the areas around it are nice and wave free. On this one here, went ahead and schmutzed all the areas that I had to work with the sealing waterproof angel hair. And now it is ready for final go over. And I don't feel any big dents, so I'm pretty sure I can go straight to the fine filler putty. Now the other thing on this one is I've repaired this bottom strip here, and it needs angel hair and sanding before it's ready to go. And before we actually get around to it, painting them, we need to go through these jam areas and clean all of this up so we get good primer adhesion all the way around, because we're going to be shooting all of the doors areas everywhere with sealing primer, so everything's good and sealed and as straight as possible. Now, once these are in the sealing primer, there's going to be a lot of little imperfections that we did not catch. Little small scratches that are going to show through the sealing primer, because the sealing primer is not high build primer. The next step after that is going to be shoot all the areas that we want fine body work, we want are going to be easily observable, like the dash area, the cowl area, at least the sides on the roof. The driver's door especially, because that's going to be the door that we're going to be walking up to the most when we jump in and do it. And if it doesn't look perfect, or any minor flaw we see, we're going to see and be kind of disappointed. And so the idea is, once it's in the sealing primer, get a high build primer, like a red oxide high build primer that's close to the same shade. Doesn't have to be exactly the same shade, because you all want about the same, you want the same color under your paint coat. But then shoot it with that, block it, and with, you know, 180, 200 grit, so you get a little bit of tooth, but not so much that it comes through the actual color coat. And then shoot the color coat. Anyways, let's get to work burning daylight. Okay, there is such a thing as overworking it, because as it dries, then it starts moving and shifting and starts pulling up a little bit. And I've done a little bit, but I think it's not bad, so I think I got a good light layer where it really needs it. Once this dries, we shall sand it. Our intention when it started down this path was not to make a perfect truck, but we have moved on to the philosophy of, well, let's shoot for perfection, and when it falls short, let's not be disappointed. If you talk to professional restorers who be paid lots of money to do this, they'll be able to, if you pull them aside and they're not talking to the customers, and you ask them, okay, where are the problems, they'll probably point right at the little flaws that only they can see. Okay, before I was talking about how it's really easy to overwork the filling putty. And what that does is it introduces rough feathering and other things that will affect your finish. Right here is some unevenness in the surface. Is actually a rift right here where the spreader dug in a little bit and left this rift here, and it's rough right in this area, partially from overworking it, but also just bad technique. I imagine those who do it every day in, day out don't make mistakes like this. For the rest of us mortals, you're gonna get that. And there's other places around the panel. Now, I don't know if it comes up in the camera, but it's starting to get thin here. I'm able to see through the body filler and see the metal coming through, which means I really can't take any more material off to take that out without just gouging it out, and then I got to put a lot more filler there. Where now I could just put one little strike on it and move on to the next spot. However, right here next to it, this area had burned through before, and I did it again. And right here is another rough spot. So I can't really feel a difference in height. It actually feels kind of like a low spot there. But because of this and the rift over here that you might not be able to see, I'm going to schmutz this area generally again. Now, this is hard to see while you're doing it and you're working on a clock because it's drying out as you're doing it. So it's kind of helpful to go around and mark all the areas that you can find with your eyes and by running your hand over it. And these are the spots where you're going to put just a little schmutz on it. You're not gonna, and you won't use very much, but you do that in order to go ahead and minimize how much more you put on and how much more you have to take off. Okay, I went way too far sanding up here, knocking the body filler off. I actually have to re-schmutz a lot of this. A lot of the rest of this is okay. This area in here is real good. I feel a little bit in here. And this here is pretty good. It feels like a high area in here still. Though I'm probably better off skimming in here instead of taking more off there. So that's what got me in trouble with this, is I basically didn't follow my own advice and kept going even though I burned through it. So that's frustrating. the other door. This is schmutzed up. I'm going to have to clean it up. But first I wanted to go ahead and take the hinges off so I can work around that area. And a little squirt of rust stuff to convert any lingering rust. Now that we've knocked all the thick stuff off. Okay, we continue to make progress on the doors. Hopefully this is the last layer of glazing putty that needs to go onto this door. One more round of sanding to get it nice and smooth and flat, and I think this outside's ready to paint. I still got to do a little touch-up sanding up around the window, and then I need to take off the hinges as I did with the other door. Go ahead and clean out the jambs so that get the remainder of the old weather stripping off, and dig out any scale that might be in there, and hit it with some rust converter. At that point, this door will be ready. Now, a little point on production. While this stuff is glazing is drying, I make a point to then jump over and work on something else. That way things continue to move forward. I don't glaze it and then wait for it to dry and then sand it. I go ahead and glaze it, move on to something else, and then when that gets to a logical stopping point, come back and sand this. Yeah, it's one way of keeping the projects moving forward in a steady pace towards inevitable completion, so that the few hours you can throw in every week, you get maximum accomplished for the minimum amount of time, most efficiency. Anyways, as always, if you like what we're doing here at the Pit Stop Ranch and you want to support us in our efforts, please hit the like button, and if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe. We really appreciate it, and until next time, have a fantastic day.